the same kind of politicized science that drove Fruit Loops to the top of the food pyramid. And we're going to do real science, gold standard science. We're going to develop we have till December to do it, but we are working very, very fast together. We're going to get it done by
why the owner says the tariffs are forcing him to send workers home early.
We're going to feel it in our wallet. That dollar's not going to go far.
And today marks 50 years since the fall of Saigon. We're going to hear from a woman who was reunited with her father after he spent 5 years as a prisoner of war.
The Vietnamese told him that these sandals were made out of the tires of his aircraft that it was flying.
Their story told through a Pulitzer Prize-winning photograph. Thanks for joining us. Let's get right to our first alert weather because we are in for a bit of a cool down over the next couple of days. So enjoy the sun while we can. Meteorologist Jessica Birch tracking our next chance of some rain.
It's another warm day for us here in the Bay Area with our daytime highs this afternoon topping off in the 80s all throughout our inland spots from Concord over into Antioch, Walnut Creek included, the Tri-Valley area, the Santa Clara Valley also seeing 80s. We have upper 70s today up in wine country. Places like Napa at 77 degrees. It's a lot cooler and a lot more cloudier along our coast today, and areas like Half Moon Bay only sitting in the low 60s throughout this afternoon. San Francisco just a little bit warmer, topping off in the upper 60s. Today is going to be one of the last warm days for us this week. We actually experienced a nice cool down right around the corner. Earlier this morning we had clouds. We start to see those push to the south throughout the afternoon and evening hours tonight, exposing us to plenty of sunshine throughout those inland areas, but we still see clouds along our shore into the overnight hours tonight too. Now it's a dry day today, it's a dry day tomorrow, but low pressure moves in from offshore. It's going to cool us off, and it's also going to bring in a light chance of showers as early as Saturday's forecast. From Saturday all the way into Sunday morning, we can potentially see close to around 1/100 of an inch of rain in areas like Napa and San Francisco. A little bit more impressive numbers all the way over into areas like Pleasanton. But let's change gears real fast. Let's talk about the next 7 days in total, because it's not only the rain that we're going to be looking at as we head into Saturday's forecast, it's the temperatures too. I mean, we're holding on tight to 80s today, 70s by tomorrow, 60s once we head into that Saturday forecast for our inland areas. So we're experiencing a very big cool down right around the corner as we creep closer to the weekend. The good news is you look at Monday and we warm right back up into the upper 70s, potentially some lower 80s too in those inland spots, plenty of sunshine. Along the bay, it looks pretty similar, just a little bit more mild on those temperatures. So upper 60s today, turn into low 60s heading into this weekend, and we'll warm right back up to where we're at right now as we head into early next week. Back to you.
If you know anybody with Lou Gehrig's disease, you know how devastating it can be, and it's affecting more people than ever before. According to the CDC, about 30,000 Americans are living with the disease, and that number is expected to rise by more than 10% over the next decade, and there is no cure. Among those affected, Bay Area native Eric Dane, 52-year-old actor, revealing his diagnosis earlier this month. But now, there could be a breakthrough for early detection thanks to artificial intelligence. Our Itai Had introduces us to a woman in the North Bay who's hoping a new program can help her spot a disease once considered impossible to predict.
These days, it's the little things Mindy Erlab appreciates the most. A hot cup of coffee, a song on the piano, her dog waiting by the door. Ordinary moments made extraordinary by what she knows could be coming.
I wish I didn't have to think about this, but at the same time, I try not to let it consume my life.
That is why, every week, she logs on and reads a few lines into an app trained to catch the faintest slur or shift in her speech.
A woman signed a sales contract for construction of a new brick home.
Erlab lost her mother to ALS.
Take a deep breath and say, pataka, over and over.
And even though she doesn't have the disease, she carries the gene.
Pataka, 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 pataka.
For now, this app, called Everything ALS, is helping her stay one step ahead.
You've been doing a good job.
The technology behind it was created by Indu Navar, a former high-tech executive who turned grief into purpose after losing her husband Peter to ALS. They searched for a diagnosis for 2 years. By the time they got one, most of his neurons were already gone.
That's the time you're supposed to be doing something.
Every 90 minutes, someone in the U.S. is diagnosed with ALS. But getting that diagnosis can take months, even years. By then, there's little doctors can do. So Navarre turned to AI, creating an app that tracks speech, walking, and motor skills, spotting changes long before most humans can. By letting patients participate from home, Everything ALS not only makes clinical trials more accessible, it's giving researchers a data set that's bigger, faster, and more diverse. While early results seem promising, the app has not yet been approved by the FDA.
AI has allowed us to predict changes in small variation that happens.
As for Erlab, taking back a little control has given her something else, a way to write her own story.
I enjoy every day of my life. I don't stay up at night worrying about stuff.
Please say pop.
Pop.
Artificial intelligence, delivering not just a new tool, but new hope.
Nice work.
Navarre and her team are already expanding the technology to other diseases like Alzheimer's, Huntington's, and Parkinson's. More smash and grab robberies in Oakland, and once again, the thieves targeted a gas station and a 7-Eleven store just before 4:30 this morning. 5 people stormed the Express Gas and Mart on High Street in East Oakland. The clerk who was working at the time spoke with us shortly after it happened.
It was 5 of them. They all came inside. They ran through the cigarettes. They were asking me the code to the safe. I said I didn't know. I actually don't know the code to the safe. The guy followed me and he ran through all the things, and he just took some extra little boxes of cigarettes. And other than that, they just literally got their stuff and they left.
Well, that clerk says the suspects also tried to grab her purse, but she pleaded with them not to take it. She also told us that she called Oakland police twice during the robbery, but dispatch said they were tied up with other calls. About 30 minutes later, a 7-Eleven store was robbed, this one on MacArthur Boulevard. Ardalin says that this is the 3rd time that they have been hit in just the past month, and this time they got away with cash and cigarettes. No word on if the 2 robberies from this morning are connected. We have reached out to police. This all comes after a string of convenience store robberies in Oakland just last week. 3 gas stations and 2 7-Elevens were hit. The Alameda County DA says the smash and grabs all happened within hours of each other. 2 men are facing felony charges. Teachers in Oakland are getting ready to walk off the job tomorrow in a 1-day strike. The Oakland Education Association says the strike is over the district's alleged failure to provide financial information about budget cuts. The district says it has responded to 30 of the union's requests. It also says schools will be open and staffed tomorrow, so you can send your child to school. This would be the 4th teacher strike in Oakland since 2019. In a statement, the district said they believe these aren't reasons to disrupt student learning, and they're hopeful they can work together to guarantee a strong finish to the school year. Ports nationwide now feeling the impact of President Trump's tariffs, and that includes the Port of Oakland. One company there says they've even had to send employees home early because there's no work for them. They say tariffs are at least partially to blame for that. Our Amanda Harry spoke with the truck stop owner near the port who's seeing this all play out.
The Port of Oakland is usually filled with colorful shipping containers that line the coast. But lately, Bill Aboudi has noticed it looking a bit different.
You can see gaps in the container parking space.
He believes this has to do with the sweeping tariffs coming out of Washington. Aboudi is the president of Oakland Maritime Support Services, a 15-acre truck parking and service facility for thousands of truckers coming to and from the Port of Oakland daily. But since new tariffs went into effect earlier this month, Aboudi says things have been slower at their service facility.
It's giving our customers an atmosphere of uncertainty, and so they're not ordering as much.
And his facility is more empty.
We normally would come out to here with double loading because we're out of space. But now you can see I don't, and I have plenty of space there, and I also have a special project going on in the other half of my yard, and that's how slow it is.
He has a row of trucks that would usually be hauling containers. Now they're just sitting there. He's had to send many of his workers home early.
If I can't pay you, I can't keep you on the clock. So we are sending people home, and we hope that there's a return in business after this is settled.
The port saw a 9% increase in imports in March, which Aboudi believes was an attempt to beat the tariffs. In a statement, the Port of Oakland admits they have seen a slowdown. Quote, over the past few weeks, we have seen a modest number of vessel service reductions, situations where shipping lines cancel scheduled voyages or skip ports on their shipping routes, known as blank sailing, which are common during periods of market uncertainty. The statement goes on to say the move is a sign of cautious planning by ocean carriers in response to shifting trade dynamics. But Aboudi thinks things need to shift a different way.
We're being bullied to the rest of the world, and we need to learn to play nice.
He says he feels for everyone, because for now, everyone is going to be impacted.
This is a chain, a logistical chain. So the longshoremen are going to feel it because there's going to be less cargo coming off those ships, so they work less hours. We're going to feel it because we pull the containers. We take them to warehouses. They're going to feel it because they don't need those warehouse people. And then the ultimate is going to be the consumer. We're going to feel it in our wallet. That dollar's not going to go far.
Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, the head of Homeland Security making a stop here in the Bay Area. And the changes, she says, are coming to our strategy against cyber threats. Plus, 50 years after the fall of Saigon, an historic reunion frozen in time through that incredible picture. We're going to hear from the woman about this iconic moment and the meaning of this burst of joy.
It is just a glorious moment in time of my dad coming home to his family.
And why state officials are releasing millions of invasive fruit flies in the East Bay.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
the last big warm day of the week here in the Bay Area. We're gearing up for 80s in the forecast. By tomorrow, we jump down to the low 70s and then upper 60s as we creep closer to our Saturday forecast, at least for our inland spots. Of course, it's going to be a little bit cooler and cloudier along the coast for us as we head into this afternoon. Still a little bit above average nonetheless as we take a quick look at our friends along the bay, closer to San Francisco or across the Bay Bridge over in Oakland. Today, we're in the upper 60s and lower 70s. We'll all creep down into the low 60s as we head closer to this weekend with a light chance of showers into Saturday, drier into next week.
Today marks day 3 of the RSA Cybersecurity Conference in San Francisco. It's going on at Moscone Center. It's covering the latest technologies and evolving threats to cybersecurity. And the head of Homeland Security spoke at the conference yesterday. Former South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem announced changes coming to the agency that oversees national cybersecurity. Kenny Choi has details.
The Trump administration hasn't said it would eliminate CISA, but there have been reports on its plans for massive cuts. Noem outlined some of the department's vision for the agency. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem made it clear changes are coming for the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency.
We're going to make sure that we need to put CISA back on mission. That many times CISA is doing important work, but we also saw them get into areas that were not why they were created.
Noem criticized the direction CISA has taken while trying to safeguard the integrity of elections.
We saw CISA get into a misinformation, disinformation campaign. They were deciding what was truth and what was not, and it's not the job of CISA to be the Ministry of Truth.
Nicole Tisdale is a cybersecurity policy attorney who served under the Biden administration as a national security expert at the White House.
Thought it was really intentional that she had a question and also a response ready to make it clear to the audience that she never said she wanted to get rid of CISA.
While Noem didn't make any statements about staffing cuts, the DHS secretary says there will be reforms.
We are conducting an assessment of this office to make sure that we are not overreaching, that we're returning money back to taxpayers, and we're realigning the workforce to focus on what the mission is that Congress has laid out.
Tisdale says it's too early to know what those reforms will look like until the administration's next budget is announced.
I think that's how we're going to see what their priorities are and what they really want to do in terms of restructuring CISA.
Noem says her focus for CISA will be to help strengthen the cybersecurity systems for small and medium-sized businesses and at the state and local levels to fend off the bad actors.
The RSA conference runs through tomorrow at Moscone Center. It has been 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War, and today an historic Huey helicopter is going to fly over the city of San Jose to commemorate the fall of Saigon. This is a look at the Vietnam War memorial called Sons of San Jose. You can find it downtown, West Santa Clara Street and Delmas Avenue. That memorial honors the 142 soldiers from San Jose who were killed in action during the Vietnam War. 50 years ago today was also the biggest helicopter evacuation in history, when more than 1,000 Americans and thousands of Vietnamese citizens were rescued from the U.S. Embassy in Saigon, that historic moment marking an end to the fighting between North and South Vietnam. So many powerful images coming out of that conflict that still resonate today, and that includes this airman reuniting with his family at Travis Air Force Base after spending 5 years as a prisoner of war. That picture, put into 3 simple words, burst of joy, would go on to win the Pulitzer Prize. Steve Large spoke with one of the subjects of that photo who now lives in Mountain View.
A burst of joy. This iconic photo, a family running towards their father, Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Robert Sturm, a prisoner of war in Vietnam for 5 years, freed, and finally home at Travis Air Force Base in 1973. His 15-year-old daughter, Lori, first to her dad for the long-awaited embrace. 5 decades later, that then teenage girl still lives within driving distance of Travis Air Force Base. In this home,
Lori. Hi, Steve. So nice.
I met her here,
Thank you so much.
where that photo now hangs prominently by her front door.
It is just a glorious moment in time of my dad coming home to his family.
Her first words to her father in that famous moment?
Nothing profound, just, oh, daddy, oh, daddy, oh, daddy.
Not profound, but pure.
It was absolutely pure.
Now married with adult children of her own, Lori Kitching's father remains her hero.
25 June 1970. Dearest Lori and kids,
She saved the letters he wrote from prison camp.
I pray my absence will not mar the children's life.
Heartbreaking and heartwarming.
I'm so proud of my teenage girl.
Always with perfect penmanship.
My love and prayers to all. Bob. Wow.
Lori also has her dad's prison uniform,
They were released in order of their shoot-down date.
carefully packed in a suitcase issued him upon his release.
The Vietnamese told him that these sandals were made out of the tires of his aircraft that it was flying.
This is National Archive video showing her father, Lieutenant Colonel Sturm, as he was released from captivity in Vietnam. The plane with an American flag ready to take him and other POWs home. One of Lieutenant Sturm's prison mates, John McCain, was shot down one day before Sturm.
That's a great story.
The two pilots shared a wall in solitary confinement and communicated in a tapping code.
And so John McCain was tapping a joke to my dad through the walls. And my dad said that's the first time he laughed when he was in jail. First time he laughed. And that was 1970.
Lori's father never did tell her the joke.
It must have been pretty good to laugh over
That he actually
code.
laughed. Yeah.
Do you find yourself reflecting on days like this, or
Yes.
with these milestones?
Yes. It's still very fresh in my heart, in my mind, in my life.
A war that created a deep divide in a country her father served to protect.
There were a lot of people who were just against the United States being involved at all.
Now, how do you think the Vietnam War has come to define you?
Wow, that's a hard question. I hope that I'm more empathetic.
Lori says the Vietnam War has helped her to seek understanding. This Pulitzer Prize-winning photo, taken at Travis Air Force Base, focusing on Lori Kitching's American family, and a snapshot of Vietnam War service and sacrifice.
The now retired Colonel Robert Sturm is 92 years old after he was released from captivity in 1973. He remained in the Air Force, continuing to fly until 1977. Well, join us tonight at 5 on our evening edition as we look back at the end of the Vietnam War 50 years later. We are exploring the dark side of the orphan evacuation program known as Operation Baby Lift. Still ahead, the plan to combat an invasion that has been damaging crops in the East Bay, how state officials are fighting flies with flies.
There's so many outbreaks every year that whack-a-mole approach is not going to work.
for all of us, though, anywhere from the East Bay over into the coastal areas until Saturday. Saturday, we get a quick splash of showers, not amounting to much. If anything, we get close to about 1/100 of an inch of rain throughout most of the Bay Area. A little bit more impressive numbers expected closer to Livermore, all the way over into Pleasanton, too. Let's take a quick look at the next 7 days while we're at it. In those inland areas that I just mentioned, we're going to hold on tight to 80s today. We jump to the 70s by tomorrow, 60s by Saturday, and then we get this nice little warm up as we head into early next week with sunnier skies around the corner, too, as we head into next Monday and Tuesday. Now we head over into the Bay where it's cloudy right now. It's definitely going to be the case each day this week. Once we head into this weekend, those clouds become more dense. We're going to see showers roll in from offshore with some gusty conditions heading into Saturday's forecast. Wind speeds are expected to get pretty breezy along the shore especially, and we're going to notice that in our inland areas too. As we get closer to Saturday, I'll keep you updated on that. The good news is we warm up and dry up as we head into next week.
State agriculture officials say they are almost finished eradicating an old pest that recently returned to the Bay Area, the Mediterranean fruit fly, or Medfly. It is an invasive African fly that can really do a number on crops. They have devastated Bay Area farmers in the early 80s, but now the state is actually releasing millions of them in Alameda County. As John Ramos explains, they are using the flies against themselves.
This latest release of sterile medflies is not the beginning of an infestation. In fact, it may be the end of one. When they were discovered in August in Fremont, it was the first time the bug had been found in Alameda County since 1981. And that was the year that all hell broke loose. The medfly, nicknamed Old Blue Eyes for its iridescent color, poses a huge threat to agriculture, laying its eggs inside fruit, making it inedible. But more importantly, it can leave an entire region subject to bans from other states and even foreign countries. So when 100 flies were found in Fremont within 6 months, it sounded a lot of alarms.
So in response to that, our protocol is to release sterile male Mediterranean fruit flies at a rate of 250,000 sterile flies per square mile per week.
Dr. Jason Leathers says the sterile insect technique has been pretty successful and is used on a year-round basis in Southern California. But before they figured out how to do that, back in 1981, they used a different technique, one that most will never forget. At the time, many compared it to the helicopter attack scene from Apocalypse Now. Teams of choppers flew in formation, spraying the city of San Jose with a sticky solution of the pesticide malathion. Then Governor Jerry Brown initially resisted the spraying, which upset local farmers.
I've got to weigh the health effects, and the impact on people.
But he then approved it under pressure from the federal government, which frightened and angered everyone else.
We feel like we are just trapped here and we're going to be sprayed. We're going to be living in the sea of malathion.
I could have a 2-pound baby instead of a nice, healthy 7-pound baby.
But despite the uproar, the flights continued, night after night.
And it was even unbelievable to me, actually. I mean, in retrospect, the thought of even spraying one-time malathion over millions of people is really something that certainly wouldn't be accepted today.
Dr. James Carey was studying the medfly at the time for UC Davis. He says though the spraying was generally successful at knocking down the infestation, the public outcry convinced the state to give up the practice. But now he has his doubts that the sterile insect technique can really totally eradicate a species.
It's very, very difficult. In fact, it's impossible to declare whether flies have been totally eliminated. It is kind of a whack-a-mole problem right now. You get medflies here and there and you have to go after them. But pretty soon there's so many outbreaks every year that whack-a-mole approach is not going to work.
He believes they're here to stay, but he says the state can't acknowledge that without its agriculture being quarantined by the rest of the world. So in August, if no more medflies are found in Alameda County, they will be officially considered eradicated until the next time they show up.
Well, the professor says that climate change may also be playing a part in the rise of invasive pest outbreaks. Many of the damaging insects come from tropical climates and are better able to adapt to California as the average temperatures increase. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, how do Bay Area Trump supporters feel about the president's first 100 days of his second term? We're going to check in with a local business owner to get his report card.
It's hard, very hard to be a Republican in California. I mean, I don't care which party is on there, but I think it's good for people like us, good for people like everybody.
Plus, one mother's efforts to protect her son, now helping a Bay Area police department better respond to emergencies. How a first-of-its-kind system alert is giving the parents of children with autism more peace of mind.
This is the crux of what we need as first responders.
With Code Joshua, we feel safer, and it's okay that the community is going to support him.
And this is the minute. It has happened again. Another East Oakland gas station hit by robbers. The clerk at Express Gas and Mart on High Street says 5 thieves stormed the store at around 4:30 this morning. 7-Eleven store on MacArthur Boulevard was also robbed shortly after. No word on if they're connected. Oakland teachers set for a one-day strike tomorrow. The union says it is over the district's alleged failure to provide financial information about budget cuts. The district says it has responded to 30 of the union's requests. It also says schools will be open and staffed on Thursday. A San Jose engineer has pleaded guilty to bombing a pair of PG&E transformers. Investigators say the attacks from 2022 and 2023 caused serious property damage and widespread power outages. Peter Carrasa faces 2 federal charges for destroying energy facilities. I'm Ann Makovic with the Minute.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It's another warm day for us here in the Bay Area with our daytime highs this afternoon topping off in the 80s all throughout our inland spots from Concord over into Antioch, Walnut Creek included, the Tri-Valley area, the Santa Clara Valley also seeing 80s. We have upper 70s today up in wine country. Places like Napa at 77 degrees. It's a lot cooler and a lot more cloudier along our coast today, and areas like Half Moon Bay only sitting in the low 60s throughout this afternoon. San Francisco just a little bit warmer, topping off in the upper 60s. Today is going to be one of the last warm days for us this week. We actually experienced a nice cool down right around the corner. Earlier this morning we had clouds. We start to see those push to the south throughout the afternoon and evening hours tonight, exposing us to plenty of sunshine throughout those inland areas, but we still see clouds along our shore into the overnight hours tonight too. Now it's a dry day today, it's a dry day tomorrow, but low pressure moves in from offshore. It's going to cool us off, and it's also going to bring in a light chance of showers as early as Saturday's forecast. From Saturday all the way into Sunday morning, we can potentially see close to around 1/100 of an inch of rain in areas like Napa and San Francisco. A little bit more impressive numbers all the way over into areas like Pleasanton. But let's change gears real fast. Let's talk about the next 7 days in total, because it's not only the rain that we're going to be looking at as we head into Saturday's forecast, it's the temperatures too. I mean, we're holding on tight to 80s today, 70s by tomorrow, 60s once we head into that Saturday forecast for our inland areas. So we're experiencing a very big cool down right around the corner as we creep closer to the weekend. The good news is you look at Monday and we warm right back up into the upper 70s, potentially some lower 80s too in those inland spots with plenty of sunshine. Along the bay, it looks pretty similar, just a little bit more mild on those temperatures. So upper 60s today, turn into low 60s heading into this weekend, and we'll warm right back up to where we're at right now as we head into early next week. Back to you.
The first 100 days of President Trump's second terms are in the books, and a lot has happened over the past 3 months. He signed more than 140 executive orders, far more than any U.S. president in that same time period. With the help of Elon Musk and Doge, his administration rapidly shrank the federal workforce. He laid off more than 200,000 federal workers, including employees from the Health and Human Services office in San Francisco. He began cracking down on immigration and launched deportation operations, some of which are being challenged in court. And he imposed sweeping global tariffs, then temporarily halted them, except for imports from China. He also pulled back on some tariffs that would have hurt American car makers. Trump's approval rating, though, has been slipping. According to a recent CBS News poll, 45% of Americans approve of the job he is doing so far. That is compared to 53% at the beginning of February. Just after the November election, we introduced you to a business owner from Alameda County who was once a Democrat but then voted twice for Trump. Our Katie Nielsen checked back in with him to get his 100-day evaluation of the second Trump presidency.
Welcome.
Kenny Zhao doesn't fit many stereotypes. Originally from China, he now runs a successful winery in Sunol, Ellison Vineyards.
Did you know anything about running a winery?
No.
And a vineyard?
No. At the beginning, no.
He's the type of guy who can just figure it out, whatever business it is, like his almond orchards near Sacramento, or his solar manufacturing facility, or his import and export business of electronics. That one has been hit hard by Trump's tariffs, but he says he understands why Trump is doing it and supports him.
When I importing, I only got to charge like 3%. When I exporting the foreign country, charge me between 50, 60, 70, 80%. That's not fair for America.
He says the tariffs are short-term pain for long-term economic gain, and says he believes the president is doing a great job during the first 100 days in office and simply needs more time to carry through on an agenda of policy changes that he supports. When asked about Trump's campaign promise to lower prices at the grocery store, Kenny said the same thing.
That hasn't happened yet.
In fact, Kenny is such a Trump supporter, he even came out with a MAGA wine for the president just before the election.
The MAGA Magnum?
MAGA Magnum, yes. That's the whole idea in there.
Kenny says it's not easy being a Trump supporter, especially in the Bay Area.
It's hard, very hard to be a Republican in California.
But that doesn't mean he's going to change his opinions or stop producing the wine.
I mean, I don't care which party's on there, but I think it's a good for people like us, good for people like everybody.
Attorneys for Santa Clara County and the city of San Francisco are joining a national coalition suing the Trump administration and DOJ. That lawsuit alleges Trump and DOJ are unconstitutionally reorganizing the government with deep cuts to the federal workforce, and that President Trump is overstepping his authority by ordering mass firings without congressional approval. And attorneys for the state of California also joining nearly 24 lawsuits aimed at, or 24 states rather, filing a lawsuit aimed at rolling back funding and job cuts at AmeriCorps. That lawsuit claims that the dramatic cuts violate federal law and constitutional separation of powers since Congress created and funded AmeriCorps. The program places volunteers into community service work ranging from teaching to providing disaster relief and clearing trails. The Fremont Police Department, the first agency in the country to adopt an emergency system called Code Joshua. It is an effort to avoid potential escalations when law enforcement encounters people with developmental disabilities. The recent killing of an autistic teen in Idaho has sparked calls for a better understanding for the potential of violence. 17-year-old Victor Perez was nonverbal and holding a knife when officers shot him 9 times in his yard. Happened earlier this month. His family said he was having a mental health crisis and that he was not a threat. So how is the Fremont PD implementing this program? Kevin Coe learned how it all got started and spoke with the family that was eager to register.
Meet Brady, a 13-year-old from Fremont who loves the outdoors. His parents, Beth and Eric Coons, love him more than the world.
Parents are always worried about their kids. Always. Especially parents of kids with autism. It adds an extra level of worry.
Eric and Beth were born deaf, but it's never stopped them from enjoying life as a family. Brady is deaf and autistic.
Since my son was little, I always worried about him. I felt I had to be with him all the time to watch him and protect him. But now that he's getting older, he's 13 now, and he wants to be more independent. He wants to be out in the community more, and I can't protect him forever.
Beth and Eric worry about Brady's interactions with others, including police, in the event of a traumatic episode.
We worry about how other people who don't know about our son, how best to approach him, how best to talk with Brady, and how best to de-escalate the situation.
The couple found out they weren't alone in their fears. After some research, they came across Code Joshua, a partnership between Fremont-based nonprofit Joshua's Gift and Fremont Police. Mispa Brown-Rich is Joshua's mom and the co-founder of Joshua's Gift. Her son struggles with sensory overload, which can be triggered by loud noises in public.
It may trigger a meltdown, it may trigger aggressive behavior, and that could be misinterpreted. One of the biggest fears is if law enforcement gets involved and they're not trained on recognizing the behaviors or the characteristics of a person on the autism spectrum, that could probably lead to a more unfavorable or more deadly outcome.
Families can register with Code Joshua to submit detailed information about their loved ones. If they encounter law enforcement, the information is passed along to officers, who then know what to look out for.
This is the crux of what we need as first responders. What are an individual's triggers or sensitivities? And then some of the expected behaviors too. Should we expect that an individual will be kicking or hitting us or biting? And understanding that that's kind of normalized behavior.
Emergency contact information is also available, so loved ones can be reached immediately. For Beth and Eric, that provides comfort they didn't know was possible.
With Code Joshua, we feel safer, and it's okay that the community is going to support him.
Fremont Police officially initiated Code Joshua in April. So far, about 200 families have signed up.
The database is voluntary, so only families that register will be in the system. It's also available in 17 languages. Coming up next, the Warriors heading into Game 5 tonight with a 3-1 lead in the series. Taking a look at the key players who could be fundamental to the team's defense.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
It's the last big warm day of the week here in the Bay Area. We're gearing up for 80s in the forecast. By tomorrow, we jump down to the low 70s and then upper 60s as we creep closer to our Saturday forecast, at least for our inland spots. Of course, it's going to be a little bit cooler and cloudier along the coast for us as we head into this afternoon. Still a little bit above average nonetheless as we take a quick look at our friends along the bay, closer to San Francisco or across the Bay Bridge over in Oakland. Today, we're in the upper 60s and lower 70s. We'll all creep down into the low 60s as we head closer to this weekend with a light chance of showers into Saturday, drier into next week.
The Warriors have a chance to punch their ticket to the next round of the playoffs tonight. They're taking on the Rockets. Game 5 in Houston. The Dubs lead the series 3-1, and the team probably would not be in this position without the heroics of Draymond Green. As Matt Lively explains, even after all these years, Draymond's defense still impresses his teammates.
I'm always walk that line. That's who I am. Habitual line stepper.
Draymond Green tiptoed the line again in Game 4, picking up a technical foul in the first half and his 5th foul of the night with 8 minutes left in the third quarter. But when the Dubs needed a stop to win the game, Draymond delivered.
Game on the line, Draymond making a stop. It's like having Steph Curry take the shot.
Can't play the game worrying. Like I said before, if I'm going to go out there worrying, I'm not doing this team any justice. I just go sit down if I'm just going to go out there and be cautious.
Fitting that Jimmy Butler grabbed the game-winning rebound after fighting through pain all night. Butler elevated above center Steven Adams to close out Game 4.
I told Dre, if you get a stop, I will get the rebound. And he got the stop, and I got the rebound.
I looked up, I thought it was Kuminga out there flying. It was Jimmy. That was my favorite play of all of them that he made.
Butler still isn't 100% recovered from his pelvic injury, but after scoring 27 points in 40 minutes in Game 4, he's locked in on bringing a championship back to the Bay.
I die for these guys, for real. It's so fun. I got my joy back, as some would say. But more than anything, it's always good to win. I can go, man. Go back there. What are you going to do? Nothing on national TV.
Well, Thrive City is hosting another playoff watch party outside Chase Center tonight. Tip-off at 4:30. And we are counting down to the Golden State Valkyries' first preseason game. That is less than 1 week away. The team was working out on their 3rd day of training camp in Oakland yesterday. As an expansion team, these players are faced with one major challenge, getting to know each other as teammates and building their own culture. But they did find time for a little fun during practice, a few team members taking a dance break there on the sidelines.
Yeah, the vibes, it's just great vibes, and I love that everybody is a competitor, you know, and wants to win.
We're not walking into a culture that's already set. We get to create our own culture, we get to write our own story.
And we're going to be here for that story. CBS News Bay Area is at your home for the Valkyries. More than 30 games airing on KPIX and on Pix Plus. We'll also have a weekly show with behind-the-scenes access. Coming up, a man in the North Bay planting the seeds of change for his community to come together.
I think everybody needs, you know, something to wave, something to get behind, something they can relate to.
How he is holding a peaceful protest with sunflowers. we all know that we are living in a divided and politically charged climate these days, and a lot of people are looking for ways to have their voices heard. Here in the Bay Area, we see protests of all kinds, but our Kara St. Cyr spoke with one man in Santa Rosa who is hoping his movement grows, quite literally.
We'll take and fill up all these cells.
Every great movement has its symbol.
Back in the anti-Vietnam War days, we had the peace sign, for example, but there was never one unifying thing for all the resistance groups.
Jim Wilder hopes the sunflower might be just that.
Wilder, a veteran, says he wants to unify communities that feel marginalized under the Trump administration.
I think Trump is being so very undemocratic.
He's called the movement Sunflowers Across America.
I think everybody needs, something to wave, something to get behind, something they can relate to.
Wilder's collected thousands of sunflower seeds and is planting them so that one day they may line the streets in form of a peaceful protest.
He's already planted nearly 3,000.
So these are the double Sun King.
The goal is to plant 10,000 in the Bay Area by the end of this year and eventually spread the movement nationwide.
But for now, he's starting with local activists like Christina Wild, a volunteer with Wake Up Sonoma County.
Thank you very much. A pleasure.
She's one of the first to receive her seeds. Seeing the sprouts gives her hope.
A sunflower is a tall, strong, hardy flower. It looks to the sun, it looks to the light, and I think that makes it a good symbol in and of itself.
While he gets ready to plant more sunflowers, Wilder is expanding his movement to include buttons and even shirts.
I've been mounting these just on some green stakes so that you can imagine 100 people waving these at a demonstration or something.
The sunflowers won't bloom until May, but Wilder is happy to plant what he calls the seeds of resistance.
Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your First Alert forecast and another look at your top stories.